gentlemen of the press. I'd like to start with an apology. We had sent out a press release this morning about 2 minutes past 9 to your Google Groups email, and unfortunately we only realized about 15 minutes ago that it hadn't been received, so my apologies for the delayed start. On my immediate left, your right, is Mr. Devon Light, who I will get into. He's an eyewitness to the events which took place on Thursday the 15th of March on the Georgetown seawall. And to my immediate left we have Lorraine Barrington, Ann Aaron and Alison West, who are the sisters of Dexter Cordes, who was one of the persons that perished in the event. I've issued statements here which capture the sequence of events. You're free to take them as they occurred. Mr. Light, and you'll be able to question him later, was a laborer who was working on the roof of the Guyana Softball Association that afternoon when he and two other people were on the roof. They were repairing the roof of the Guyana Softball Association. He heard a banging sound, looked west towards the top of Camp Street, and at that stage he observed that the police had blocked off the seawall at the junction of Camp Street and the Seawall Road. When he looked immediately north, he saw that there was a black car being followed by a silver car. The occupants of the silver car were shooting appears in the air while the black car was in front. The black car came to a stop. The driver of the black car got out and stood at the door of the car, and the driver of the silver grey car, which was behind, then got out. They put the driver of the black car on the ground, and he was then assaulted by the man who'd gotten out the car. After about 15 minutes, he heard rapid gunfire, and the same person who was standing over the driver of the black car, who was on the ground at that time, was there when the rapid gunfire was heard by Mr. Light. About 10 to 15 minutes later, police photographers and an ambulance arrived at the scene of the event. Like I said, he was on the roof of the Guyana Softball Association. In relation to why the press conference now, prior to him going to the Guyana police station, is because on my advice I thought it was in his best interest for his safety and otherwise to at least have his story out to the public prior to taking him in. What I will say is that I contacted the crime chief this morning, and I indicated to him that I will be accompanying Mr. Light to the police station this afternoon. The chronology of events, like I said, is set out in the statement which I shared with you. Just a little bit of background history of Mr. Cordes. He was 46 years old. He actually is the father of 3 sons, one of whom is actually writing common entrance in a couple of weeks. A couple of days, sorry. Yeah, sorry, my apologies. The family of Mr. Cordes, the sisters, his siblings who are here, are deeply concerned about what appears to be an unjustifiable killing of the 3 citizens of the Republic in circumstances in which they were not armed, and certainly from the eyewitness accounts that we have, did not offer any resistance or did not refuse to comply with any lawful order or direction. As a matter of fact, the driver of the black car was on the ground being physically assaulted for about 10 to 15 minutes before the gunfire erupted, and the 3 occupants of the car, as you now know, were dead. There was no motorcycle that disappeared with any mysterious pillion rider or with any mysterious rider, and the events as set out, I think, don't want to be premature, but it's certainly disturbing to say the least, and I certainly think they seem to suggest that this was not the way in which the state has relayed those events. I think even the crime chief expressed some disquiet with the original police version. What perhaps is most disturbing to me is that this was not just a group of police officers who appeared to be involved, but this had to have had some coordination, because if the Seawall Road was blocked off prior to the eruption of the gunfire and prior to the car being stopped and one of the occupants exiting the car, then it seemed to have required a lot more coordination than otherwise. As you can appreciate, Mr. Light is extremely concerned about his safety. his identity, and you know that we don't have the best of histories of the country insofar as protecting eyewitnesses are concerned. But that's what I would like to say now, and we are open to questions.
This news in the Johnny MTV. What you're trying to say that there was no other vehicle in...
There were two vehicles. The black vehicle, which had the three deceased, the three now deceased in front, and it was being followed by a silver vehicle. He heard banging, looked west, saw the road was blocked off by the police. Those two vehicles were driving east along the seawall road. Gunfire erupted, sounded as if they were firing in the road in the air for them to stop. The car in front stopped. The driver got out of the car. The driver of the silver car got out, walked to him, put him on the ground, was actually assaulting him on the ground, and then after that there was gunfire erupted. And at the time the gunfire erupted, he was physically standing over the guy who was on the ground.
Would you know him to give us the...
Well, what's your question? As you naturally, I mean, ask a specific question to him.
Okay.
That's why I give you a statement so he doesn't have to go through narrating what's in the statement.
Trying to get his version. You say he was working on the rooftop in the area.
You want to respond to this question?
Yes.
Working on the rooftop in the area. If you care to explain to us, so you're on the rooftop, and what exactly did you see or heard, or when you looked to the seawalls, what was going on out there?
When I looked to the seawall, I saw...
When
I looked at the seawall, I saw cops out there. The body was lying on the ground. The person like standing up over the person. I understand. So, and I look away about 15 minutes, look back. Camera people show up on the scene. Police show up on the scene, lock down everything, and after them, what's that?
So who were there first? The men in the black car or the police?
The men in the black car come out first.
They were on the scene first?
Yeah.
And the shots were coming from their car? Did they fire the police?
The silver car is the police car.
Right.
The black car is what's not. And the car from behind start opening fire. I don't know if it's at the car or up in the air or what may be the case.
So did you see any exchange of gunfire? Did you see the men in the black car shoot at the police?
No.
They did not. Was there another car that was up there with a female and another male sitting outside? No. Inside?
No.
I just want to comment on that police story. Who takes $9.2 million out of the bank and then goes for peace at the seawall in the middle of the day? Seriously?
Yeah, the police said it was a customer.
It probably was with a customer, but even the best of customers don't tend to use that location at 2 or 3 in the afternoon or midday or whatever it was.
What's your belief, Mr. Hughes? Your belief?
My belief is irrelevant here. It's what the facts suggest.
You think?
What are the facts suggesting?
Well, the facts as related by Mr. Light seem to suggest that this was an execution. That's what it seems to suggest. His vantage point was second to none. He was up on the roof of the Ghana softball. I'm sure you can go visit the location and you see the line of sight. One car is being followed by the other. One man was put on the ground, so he could not have been a threat. And at the time the gunfire erupted, the one man was clearly on the ground. He didn't know where the other two were, but he ended up with 3 dead men. What I can say is last night I spoke to the relatives of the gentleman who was from Buxton, and he had 10 bullets in his body. One had 6. So I'm not sure where the gunfight took place.
You made reference to the guys in the black car being unarmed. Are you trying to say that all 3 of them were not armed?
I'm not trying to say anything. I wasn't there, and I don't want to extrapolate. All I can say to you is what the witness has said to me and what is
saying
innocent.
that these men in the black car was armed?
He can't say whether they're armed or not because he's up on a rooftop. There's a black car driving down the seawall. He wouldn't know if they're armed or not. What he is saying is that one man was out of the car on the ground, clearly under the command and of the person who came out of the silver car, so he could not have been a threat. They were there for about 10 minutes, and then gunfire erupted. If you follow that sequence, I would assume if you want to add some credibility to the police story, it would mean that the 2 other persons at the car would have opened fire while the one man was in the ground, and this gentleman was standing over him after having assaulted and beaten him. So that's what the facts are. It's not for me to interpret or speculate on that. I can only share with you what he has. This is not my